Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is February 11th. My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me.
Yes, it is definitely February 11th today.
I'm in New Hampshire right now. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It is February 11th when this podcast is launched, but I am in New Hampshire when this
You're
podcast
currently
is
in New Hampshire, and I'm
I'm
probably laying on the couch.
watching hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Or studying XFL film for your Week 2 fantasy
Oh, that's what
football
I'm
team.
definitely doing. Do you think they have XFL fantasy?
They do. They do. I don't know
Like
where
on
it
ESPN,
is. I
or-
don't know how to make it happen.
Oh, I'll find a way. By the time this podcast goes out, I'll find a way.
Yeah, we'll find a way. We've got a lot to get to in this episode. We're going to start a new series called Rookie Recap. In fact, we'll jump right into Rookie Recap and just discuss 6 guys, unless there is anything you wanted to touch on before we started this program.
I do want you to play the sound.
Oh, okay, we'll
We'll
to
do
that.
that.
We'll
Yeah,
do
okay.
that.
All right.
But anyway, I didn't put an icebreaker question in the show.
So our icebreaker is here's the icebreaker.
What?
Here's the icebreaker question.
What was your? All right. Okay. Well, hold on a second. Hold it. Let me do the intro stuff. Check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, Instagram at thefantasychampions. Like us at Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. You know, I think people don't follow us on Facebook because I say it so fast.
I think you say it so fast
Be
that they
sure to
don't.
like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions.
Either that or nobody in
I'll
existence.
get one of
has-
those freaking
Facebook listens to
ASMR
us.
microphones and just do it like that. Just like touch the sides of the microphone.
Make sure you.
You ever listen to that
Like
crap?
us on
That's
Facebook.
that stuff's creepy, bro.
Yeah, I don't know why people like that.
They're like, oh,
That is
so good
creepy.
in my ears. I'm
But
like,
and
what are you doing?
does it give anyone pleasure?
Several people that I
Why?
know.
Like how? Like that to me, it's just like
So strange.
it's just someone like someone really close
like
to
it's
you.
interesting for like 5
I don't even think
minutes.
it's interesting. I really don't. I
You just.
I mean, I guess you're into what
freaking
you're into, you know.
offended
But
90% of it. It's like you know what you're into.
it's just not my thing. I guess I don't know.
There's this guy that I watch on YouTube regularly. He
Okay.
does like camera videos.
Casey Neistat.
No, well, Casey. No, it's another guy, Peter McKinnon. And he did an ASMR video of like him packing his bag, and I listened to like 5 minutes.
What? So
ago.
what is the point of that?
I don't know. I mean, I know what the point.
ASMR packing my bag to go on a
He
road
did
trip.
it to advertise Squarespace at a certain point in his video.
Okay, so it's an ad video.
Yeah,
but
essentially.
it has not like so it's like
I'm like, why?
ASMR me
Yeah.
taking a nice dump in the morning.
Hold on. Let me do it on the right side.
Someone's just sitting there like listening to the ASMR like, oh yeah, that's what I need.
Somebody
what I need
turned
to
on
give
our
me.
podcast and were like was hoping it was ASMR, and then they just totally got offended by this 5-minute conversation about ASMR.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is this fantasy football podcast. I guess might as well give it a listen.
We just spent 4
talking
minutes
about
talking about ASMR.
I guess that can be our icebreaker.
Yeah. What was your question?
It was just a joke.
Oh, all right.
I don't even remember what I was gonna say.
Well, okay. What was your favorite Super Bowl ad? I'll say that much.
Oh my gosh, my
It
favorite
was like
Super
a
Bowl
whole
ad?
week. We spent last week all
Okay,
depressed.
I don't know. The one that's just the moment that stuck out for me. Everybody's gonna say the little nut, but not for me.
Dude, that was so. I heard there's so many bad things about that commercial. By the way,
I only watched like the end of the commercial. I missed a few
With the
commercials
baby
too.
nut.
Yeah,
They literally call it the baby nut.
right.
That's
That's obvious, but like, you know,
why would they do that? This is so.
I think they did that on purpose.
No, of course they did it on purpose.
Right.
The first dirty commercial we've had in the Super Bowl for like 5 years.
But like they're advertising it, and people are like,
The
"Oh, it's
baby
like the next
nut.
Baby Yoda."
No, stop.
It's like no, it's not. But
Oh my god.
oh, and it was like birthed from a funeral, and it was like kind of weird. I don't know. The commercial was weird. the one,
Do you ever think about what these people think about when they?
yeah.
make these
Well,
commercials?
their thing is like, let's make the dumbest.
okay, so
like,
We're a media company sitting in a boardroom talking about a commercial, and you're working with what is that even an advertisement for? What's the brand? Mr. Peanut? Is it Mr. Peanut? Is that the brand?
The peanut.
I don't know. Whatever. So they're advertising. They're advertising this peanut brand, and the guys sit down and I got an idea. We open up at a funeral.
Because Mr. Peanut is dead.
Mr. Peanut is dead, and we open up at a funeral.
Okay, I like what you're thinking.
Someone sheds a tear.
And
then it grows a plant that gives you a baby nut. Now, don't you think that would be offensive? No. You sit down, Ron. You sit down.
Ron, can you listen to this man?
We're calling it baby nut.
We'll get 16 billion laughs.
Yeah, 16 billion.
Like
and
16
meanwhile,
billion?
they get roasted on Twitter for trying to copy Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Anyway.
To answer your question, I don't know. This probably isn't my favorite commercial. I don't know. I'd have to actually look back at all the commercials. My favorite moment from any of the commercials was the Lil Nas and the other cowboy when they were having
no,
the dance.
is that Doritos? I think
it was the very beginning of that commercial when he his
mustache.
His mustache. Oh, I love that.
That was probably the
best. That actually
one.
made me laugh.
I enjoyed the Reese's Take 5 commercial where they just ran through a bunch of phrases.
Yeah, that was good.
And the guy
the Snickers commercial was great.
Yep.
They buried the Snickers in the giant hole.
Oh yeah. And then they shoved the social media people down there.
Yeah, they played the vloggers. Yeah, that was good.
That was awesome.
That was probably my favorite one. That one was probably my favorite.
Yeah. The Super Bowl commercials usually blow.
I think they were better this year.
This year was no exception, but
I think they were better this year than they were last year.
A lot better this year than they were last year. But anyway, now that we rambled on about this, you know what we're gonna do now?
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna bring back an old classic drop.
Oh, bring it
from
to me.
Last year. This is not even what we're calling this segment anymore.
It's close enough.
We played it before the show, and we're like, we gotta play the drop. So let's just play it.
So cool.
Rookie breakout.
Now we've completely revamped this segment. Last year, I think we went through every single rookie and made a perfect rookie team or something like that.
I don't know what we did.
We will not be doing that on this. We're going to break it down into 2 episodes. On this show, we're going to talk about quarterbacks and tight ends. It is called Rookie Recap. So we're going to recap the most viable rookies that going into next year could possibly have some form of a breakout year. Or not necessarily. We're not saying these guys are going to have a breakout year, but we're saying these guys were good starters this year. They might have a potential to jump into a conversation where they could be sleepers or something like that. So we'll start with quarterbacks and tight ends. We're going to talk about 6 guys. We'll start off with 3 quarterbacks. Quarterback number 1 is Kyler Murray. I don't think consistency charts are going to help us that much, but I do have those charts there if you want them.
Okay.
So we'll start out with the quarterback position. But Kyler Murray, he came into this year. He was pretty good. Now, we both have the same concern on Kyler.
Yes, I believe we do.
We have the Baker Mayfield concerns.
Gonna get overdrafted.
Because when we look at these numbers here, QB1 finish 5, QB2 finishes 10. So he was only a QB1 5 times. It means the rest of the time he was a QB2
He
or worse.
did bust a lot. He was a rookie.
But he still finished in the top 6?
I know. That's
top 7?
Surprising. For a rookie, he did good.
Yeah.
Did really well fantasy-wise. Just like Mayfield.
Right.
Mayfield didn't actually even do as good as Murray did fantasy-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Real-life production, Mayfield might have even been better. But it was close. They both were very good.
Right.
That year 2 bump. What are if the Cardinals added somebody in the offseason, add another receiver, maybe a tight end, maybe they sign Hunter Henry. Or Hooper, who knows? Whatever they do, maybe there becomes too much hype for Kyler Murray into next year.
Yeah.
Because I like Murray, I do, but I'm not gonna draft a quarterback in the first 6 or 7 rounds.
Yeah.
Unless I know he's gonna finish in the top 5.
Yeah.
And we don't know. Kyler Murray's never done it before. I like Kyler Murray, but I'm just saying he's never done it before, just like Mayfield.
It's true.
So we'll see.
Right now, Kyler is ADPing as the 6th quarterback off the board.
What round is that?
That's 6th round.
That's too early for me.
Yeah, that's too much early. I mean, that's kind of where we wanted Baker last year, to be honest with you. Now, I'm hoping that he falls back a little bit, but my problem is that he wasn't bad enough to kill fantasy teams
Yeah.
to the point where I think a lot
Mayfield?
of people Murray. Where I think it's to the point where a lot of people aren't mad at Murray. Like if he had a season where he wasn't.
Oh no,
that
Murray.
great,
I
he
think
wasn't
people who ever
startable.
drafted Murray.
Yeah, they were happy with it.
Yeah, they were happy.
They were
with it,
happy with it. He wasn't like a huge breakout, but he was good. Now, obviously, I talked about this early in this year. I said, guys that are the style of quarterback that Kyler Murray is coming into their rookie year, if they start first, they're usually going to rely on running the football a lot.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened early in the season. The biggest thing with Kyler is that he had a hard time getting his team into the red zone and passing more than 1 or 2 touchdowns a game. Like there were stretches of time where he would just not throw a touchdown, and then there were times where he'd throw like 2 or 3 touchdowns, but it was like 2 touchdowns, no touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, no touchdowns,
Right,
no
yeah.
touchdowns, no touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. Like it was here or there with him, but he was always a high end QB2. So the question is, does Kyler take a big leap this offseason and become a better quarterback, and do they add some offensive weapons? I don't even know that they need to add anything, just because of the fact that like last year you got the hype of getting Odell Beckham on the Browns, and that changed the thought process, and Baker was like, oh my God, and everyone started freaking out. But for Kyler, I think the pieces there are already good enough for him to start playing well. I think it was just that whole offense was like, they have like 3 rookie wide receivers, and they still have what's my man's name? Second wide receiver on the team behind Larry Fitzgerald.
Christian Kirk,
thank you. So he's good.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see improvement from Andy Isabella and Keyshawn Johnson.
Sure,
and
yeah.
some of those
I mean,
guys. I don't think that they really need to add anything, and I don't think they're going to use the tight end at all. So
Because Cliff Kingsbury. Right?
yeah. So I think their biggest concern is offensive line. Like I think that's what they need to improve offensively.
And hopefully they do that in the draft. Maybe in the offseason and they add a free agent or something like that. But yeah, I mean, if they do that, I don't see, why Kyler Murray can't maybe potentially finish in the top 5. But
right.
I'm not going to draft him like he is.
It's always value, though. That's the problem. And like last year,
exactly.
We both had the same problem with Baker, and it was that we liked Baker a lot, but it was where he was getting drafted that was killing us. Is that he was a guy that never really broke out and had like a big week in fantasy.
And Murray didn't either.
But everyone just witnessed the Patrick Mahomes thing.
Yeah,
and they were like, well, the weapons
year 2
here.
quarterback.
The weapons here, year 2 quarterback. Baker can do it, like all of that stuff, and then Baker just didn't. So I think you have to be more cautious with Kyler Murray. Do you think fantasy owners will be more cautious than they were last year and thinking maybe Kyler turns into Baker, similar to how we were talking about now?
Maybe. And there's also like no Odell. There's no like huge like Fitzgerald's older. Christian Kirk's a good receiver, but he's not Odell.
No, right.
So I think there's not that superstar on offense.
Yeah.
Which should help Kyler Murray in terms of where he's going to get drafted.
Right.
So he doesn't get overvalued, but yeah, overall I think Murray, as long as he's not overvalued and super high up in the draft, I'm a Murray guy. But if he goes up in like the 5th round, I'm not drafting him.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think it's 9th round or less.
Round or later. I would draft him in the 9th.
9th round or later, I should say.
I would definitely draft him in the 9th.
The next quarterback that we have on this list is Daniel Jones. He came in and showed at times he could be a really good quarterback. And then he would crap his pants entirely and be a trash quarterback. And so it was like, what? I mean,
solid rookie numbers, though. 24 touchdowns.
This is very much what you would expect from a rookie quarterback. And he only played... he played in week 1 like for 2 minutes.
He had moments like the game against Washington. Now, granted, Washington was a horrible team, but still 352 yards and 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Right.
His first start against Tampa, 32 fantasy points, number 2 quarterback in fantasy football. Next week, everyone picked him up, thought they were going to get a good matchup against Washington, 12 fantasy points. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like
I was looking at it reverse.
it was 12, 10,
Wash-
5, 10, and then 28.
It was week 16 against Washington when he had
11,
350.
28, 14, 8, 35, 14. So it's like you just never knew. You were right. He did blow out Washington.
He had flashes, though, of like
Yeah.
game against Detroit. He went off. A game against the Jets. All bad teams, but still, for a rookie quarterback, you get what you get.
Right.
He had a good rookie season, and he's got a lot of good weapons around him.
Mm.
Like, I think Daniel Jones, I want to be careful with my words here, can be a good fantasy quarterback next year. If all things,
I think, right.
Work
I think
out.
the weapons are there, too.
The weapons are there.
The only concern is similar to Kyler Murray's situation where they don't really have a good offensive line, and they have to.
They don't
they
have a
to
good
improve
offensive
that.
line, and do we trust their coach?
Not for a second.
Correct. So those, I think, are the two biggest
And
concerns.
I
for
don't
Daniel
know
Jones.
if we brought this up on this podcast yet,
I think
but
we
their
did
offensive
briefly, but
coordinator is
Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett,
Yeah.
who got the play calling duties taken away from him in Dallas. So what the heck are you doing? They brought in. I didn't necessarily disagree with this.
The
The
idea.
logic behind it is smart. Is that Joe Judge is a young.
So you bring in
head
somebody
coach.
who has head coaching experience
Right,
to help him out.
help him out. The problem is that and Joe Judge is an offensive guy, so his offensive ideas are going to be implemented a lot more than
Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett. But on the flip side,
Garrett's more of an assistant coach than he
He's-
is an
right,
offensive
right.
coordinator.
right. So I don't think you're going to see Garrett making a lot of play calls, but I think it should be interesting to see how things kind of shake out. I'm hoping that you're going to get some really good games out of Daniel Jones next year. I don't know that this year is going to be the year that he takes a step forward. I want to think that, and I have to do a lot more research in the offseason of just really figuring out what he actually is, because sometimes he's like 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, freaking 352
the
yards,
flashes.
big games, and then he has like literally the week before that Washington game, he had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Again, I think it's gonna be the offensive line and the coaching staff is gonna have a lot to do with Daniel Jones' year 2 success. They draft an offensive lineman, with their first pick, which I think is like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe add another one in the offseason with free agency, and the coaching staff ends up being, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason that Daniel Jones can't finish in the top 10 for quarterbacks.
I think the other thing too that you have to consider is that he did have how many games did he play in?
I think most of them, like 14, I want to say.
He had 279 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Rushing
that's
touchdowns.
not crazy, but it's better than like Tom Brady. Yeah.
So, with that, if you add a couple more games, he might have reached 300 rushing yards and a couple of touchdowns. I mean, that's no different than what Dak does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's another element to Daniel Jones's game, and we'll have to see how he kind of progresses as the season goes along next year. But for me, I'm not drafting him. I'm not drafting him expecting a breakout, but that might change as the offseason goes along. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think there's too many inconsistencies in that. Like, the offense is there, and that's the big thing. Is like
It is.
you have Saquon
and the running back, Barkley.
You have Shepard and Golden Tate. You
And
have Evan Engram
Slayton too.
and Slayton, and you have Evan Engram at tight end, and it's like you have pieces there to have.
Those
a
are
good
4
offense.
legit guys to throw to in the offense.
Yeah.
Not including Shake and Bake Barkley, arguably the best running back in football. He's got the talent
it's just
offensively around him.
Get an offensive line around that guy, and he might actually be somebody that can break out next year. The concerns for me, because he's shown, like, that's the thing, is that when you look at a guy like last year, you like Jimmy G, and Jimmy G never
I
showed.
always like Jimmy G.
Me too. But like going into the season, you like
Yeah,
him
yeah,
for fantasy,
yeah.
and he never showed that he could score more than like 20 fantasy points in a game.
Whereas
Daniel Jones's big games.
Garoppolo had like 30 something against Arizona twice, actually. So just for your information.
No, I know that. I'm talking about before the season.
No, I got you.
But he had 32 fantasy points this season, 28, 35 in another game, 28 in another game. So he can score high amounts of fantasy points. The question is consistency. You know what I mean? Is he going to continue being a volatile quarterback and not stay consistent, or is he just, what is he going to be next year? Like, if he, I'll pull up his early ADP, because I think that'll kind of give us an idea of where we can get him.
Uh-huh.
Right now, he's going in the 13th round in 10-team leagues, so that's worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, there's not a lot of guys like you can get that late. You know what I mean?
You know what? You said 13?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 12 team, he's like 11th or 12th round.
10 teams, so that would be like 13. Yeah. He might be number one on my QB. Last year was Lamar Jackson and Josh
We're
Allen.
slowly changing our minds as we talk.
Yeah, this year I just love the weapons around him. I think
Yeah,
that's the big thing with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about Kyler versus like what guy's going to have more success is that Kyler's going to be overdrafted and underperform, and Daniel Jones will be underdrafted and overperform.
Right. Does that mean I want to draft if Kyler Murray?
It
Does that
like,
mean I want to draft Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray?
If Kyler Murray was in
No.
the same spot, yeah, no, you
Absolutely
don't want to
not,
do that. But so then the next guy, Gardner Minshew, is the final quarterback we'll talk about in rookie recap. He did have a decent season, doing things that we didn't expect him to do. He had 3,271 passing yards, 16. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong number. 21 touchdowns. He did not throw a lot of interceptions, which is a really good number for a young quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when you look at what Baker, he literally reminds me so much of Baker Mayfield. It's unbelievable. I literally just called him Baker Mayfield. The thing for Gardner Minshew is more or less just, can he be consistent on a week-to-week basis?
Is he going to be the starter?
Right. Is he going to start with square one?
Is Jacksonville's offense good enough for him to be a good fantasy option?
But like, he was far better than Nick Foles.
Yeah.
And I think that like they might go with Nick Foles early. But
I hope they don't. I just love Minshew, so
yeah.
I would like to see Gardner
What do
Minshew
you
start.
think of his potential going into next year? Like,
I'd probably rank him third among the guys we've talked about.
Yeah.
But if he's the starter, I think I don't know if I would use a draft pick on him.
Right.
But he could have a
decent.
Could have a good year. The thing with Minshew, I think his ceiling is capped at least for this year.
Yeah.
Because of what he has around him. I don't know if he has the best team around him. I could be wrong about that one, but I don't love Jackson.
I watched a lot of Jacksonville, so.
You did watch a lot of Jacksonville?
So you like Chark?
I do like Chark, but I don't like his
have
Chark.
Fournette.
Yeah.
No tight end.
No tight end.
They
have a lot of like okay receivers. They have like 2 or 3 okay receivers, but nobody that's like stands out.
I think Westbrook and DJ Chark could both be two good guys.
Those guys are fine. But
their offensive line is not bad. It's just they're very catered.
It's
towards,
okay. Like that's the thing with Jacksonville. It's okay.
Yeah. So, but I do think that if Minshew does, like, people are not going to overhype this guy like Baker.
No.
So that's the plus side on the Gardner Minshew situation.
I wouldn't draft him probably, but I would definitely keep an eye on him.
Yeah, keep an eye on him. Right now, because like last
be ready
year,
to pick him up week 1.
People didn't expect him to be as good. He is going undrafted right now.
Right.
Not getting drafted at all.
So which is kind of what I would expect. But keep an eye on him like week 1.
Yeah.
Because if he comes out good week 1, I'd pick him up.
All the waiver budget.
Because he's got like that upside of being a breakout quarterback.
Right. Because he's not even on a bad team either, I think.
No, they're not bad. They're not. I didn't want to say they're bad, but they're just
just okay.
Yeah. They're like 7-9 waiting to happen.
T.J. Hawkinson is the first tight end on our list. I don't know why I shouted T.J. Hawkinson. I do too. I think so. We're gonna play the game with all the rookie tight ends and just tell you where we think they're gonna land in terms of, what do you want to call it? The read chart. I'll call it the read chart, where you think they're gonna get targeted. Now they have Marvin Jones, they have Kenny Golladay, they have Kerryon Johnson. Do you think T.J. Hawkinson is ahead of Kerryon?
I would say for last year he wasn't. This year he might.
Okay.
Passing game wise, Kerryon's still gonna get used in the running game. He'll get like 2. Like Kerryon wasn't like, even when he was healthy, he only got like 4 targets a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't like, he was getting like 3 catches a game. Like he wasn't really heavily involved in the passing game. So I'd say Hawk is probably number 3 on that list.
He had a 14% target share and 13% in the red zone. And I don't know if you remember this for Hawk. He had several dropped touchdown catches.
He had some drops, yeah.
So I think he's going to be a heavily targeted tight end in the red zone. He's extremely talented. You obviously know he's got the height, he's got the ability. He was drafted number 8th in the draft in the
Oh, was
NFL
it
draft.
8th?
It was
Why do I
8th.
keep saying 10th?
I don't know.
I've said
But
10th like every time we talk about him on this
6'5",
podcast.
251 pounds, 8th overall in the draft last year.
8th round, wow.
So they want to target him. They want to get him involved in the offense, and
Right.
I agree with you 100%. Now, the problem with Hawk is that people are going to get a little bit excited. They're going to get, and we talked about him a little bit last week. They're going to get a little bit excited on him, and he's going to end up being a 7th or 8th round pick. The question is the risk worth the reward?
Not that early. And I'm a Hawk guy, but not that early.
And in a 10 team, I'll just give you the 10 team to make you feel more comfortable. He's an 8th round pick, so.
That's still like 2 rounds too early.
Yeah, I think the talent is what people are seeing, and it's one of those. I'm starting to notice year to year in fantasy football that there are like consensus favorites, and the consensus favorites don't usually work out. Like the consensus favorite was Baker, and if you really dig deeper, you would have known like, okay, Baker can't really produce as much as we think he's going to.
The Freddie Kitchens, the slow offense.
Right. And so like I just don't. Like, I don't think Hawk is going to be bad, but he is one of those favorites to break out next year.
Yeah.
And it's a question of...
That is scary in the fact of how early he's going.
The value just doesn't match
I think
up.
his last game of the season was against Chicago, actually, on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I don't know if that was his last game of the season. I could be wrong. It's the last game that shows up on what I'm looking at anyway. But you know what his stats for that game was?
What?
He had 11 targets, which was great.
Yeah, 6 catches.
6 catches, yeah. For
18 yards.
Yeah. 3 yards a catch.
Yeah. I think what he showed this year was a dependency on
The targets as well.
target share
Yeah.
and also touchdowns. And when he caught a touchdown pass, he was a great fantasy option. And when he dropped it, he wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
which was 2 weeks.
what a lot of fantasy people saw when they had Hawkinson starting is you get that, like, literally when we started the season, like we talked about this.
He had
you
like a
got this
20-point week.
25 fantasy point game. You're like, rookie, you literally mocked me. You were like, rookie tight ends can't work out. And then we see 1-1-11.
I was just a big Hawk guy. What can I
6
say?
6 3 8 7 1 0 7. So it's like he really didn't have another big game
No.
for the rest of the season after that 21
What week did
points.
Stafford
25
get hurt, though? Wasn't it like week 6?
Don't remember.
It was pretty early.
Yeah,
I think
so
anytime
a
after
full,
Stafford.
I think a full season of Stafford could really help Hawk, but you got to watch the value. He's one of those guys. Like you talk about the first guy we talked about with Kyler Murray, overdrafted.
Yeah, he's Hawk to me is the
Hawkinson's
same
going to be
as
like if you could make a
Murray,
team of overdrafted players, it's going to be quarterback Kyler Murray, tight end T.J. Hawkinson, wide receiver A.J. Brown. Like you know what I mean? Like just overdrafted guys that people are going to get wicked hyped on. Now, the offseason goes along, and we know there are certain guys that get hyped up.
There's so many things that changes, though, too.
Yeah, like from when we listen to this podcast back in August, we're going to be like, wow, why did we even say that?
Right.
But that's just because that's how things work out. Now, a unconventional secondary guy is Noah Fant.
Who I think has very close to the same hype as T.J. Hawkinson. The problem with Noah Fant...
He's a little bit less. Like, I think Hawk can sustain the hype. Noah Fant won't.
I think he will, actually.
You do?
Not to the level of Hawk. Like, he'll probably drop, like, a round.
9th or 10th.
Yeah, but I think they'll be close.
I think people who are not knowledgeable in fantasy football will see Hawk and be like, I know who he is. And see Font and be like, who's that guy from Denver? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the name recognition on T.J. Hawkinson
I mean, that
is
could
a
be
lot
true, yeah.
higher.
Hawkinson doesn't have, like, for casuals, he doesn't, I don't think he has a
Somebody
huge...
who's a casual vote drafted him in our league super pumped.
Good point.
Because they got a tall white tight end that got drafted in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like I think Hawkinson does have the higher, like last year I thought Hawkinson, and I can't remember where these guys finished. I think Hawk finished before.
I think Font finished ahead.
Font finished. But I told you, I said,
Font played another game,
if there was a guy that was going to finish ahead of yeah, you're right. If there was a guy that was going to finish ahead of T.J. Hawkinson this year, it would be Font. But I do think T.J. Hawkinson's the more talented tight end of the two.
I think I like Font as well as you do. The only concern with Font, and I think it's a major one, which is the same that you have, is Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. Yeah.
Is Drew Lock a good quarterback?
No.
You don't think
Well,
so?
I don't dislike him, but I think he's a giant tool bag, similar to Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew.
That could be.
Gardner Minshew's like a
Minshew's
respectable tool bag.
He's a good kind of tool bag.
He's a good tool bag. Baker's a bad kind of tool bag.
I don't know what kind of tool bag Drew Lock is. He is a tool bag. Is he a good one or a bad?
Isn't his brother a YouTube guy?
No, that's Greer.
Oh, Will Grier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Who's
just
also
see
a
some of the
fullback,
things
but-
for Drew Lock, and I'm like,
He's got like I know what you mean.
He's
but
now he's got a new offense, and I just don't know. You don't. know
Locke
with
is
this guy.
somebody who I actually on the field I do really like.
Mhm.
I liked him before the draft too.
Yeah.
I wanted the Patriots to draft him, unfortunately, because I think he fell in the second round, didn't he? Top of the second round.
Yep.
But I do really like Drew Lock. But I don't know. Do you know if he's a
No.
good quarterback? I don't
No.
know. I don't even know if
No,
the
well,
Broncos
Drew
know.
Lock is their quarterback. They're running with him
No,
next
is he
year.
a good quarterback?
Oh no, I don't know.
I don't know either.
We saw him play a couple games, and he was okay.
He was good, then he was
wasn't
bad, then he was
bad.
good. It was like Daniel Jones. It's like every rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
But that is the problem because nobody knows.
I think for Daniel Jones for both of these guys, for Drew Lock and Daniel Jones, you have because that's another guy, Daniel Jones, we didn't put on this rookie list.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock, I'm sorry, but they both have new coaches coming in,
Yes. Yep.
so that is going to be dependent on how Noah Fant
Does
performs.
Denver have a new coach?
Yes,
New offensive coordinator.
New offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Their coach is defensive Vic Fangio. So, we'll in our coaches show we'll break down the new hirings of the offensive coordinator position too, just to give you a clearer picture as to what's going on around the league. Only if a guy is not an offensive guy. What do we have? 4 coaching changes overall?
Yeah, it
5 or
wasn't
6?
as many as last year.
Yeah. So, the final guy on as far as Noah Fant, I would rather draft. Here's what I'll say. I'd rather draft Font. I'd rather draft Hawkinson in the 6th round than Font in the 7th.
Yeah, but I really don't want to.
I would no. That's what I'm saying. I would.
Yeah,
draft
but
either.
I probably would
like
too. Yeah.
I'm probably going to end up avoiding Font like the plague, unless he ends up like a 10th or 11th or maybe even 12th round.
But
pick.
see, I like Locke a little bit more than you do. I think.
Yeah.
So I'm a little higher on Font when it comes to that. But even me, I like Locke, I still wouldn't probably draft Font.
Yeah. Like if Joe Flacco comes in and he's the starting quarterback again next year, I actually think Font could be good in his second year.
Really, you think you would be better
Yes.
with Flacco? Than,
Because
see, I
Flacco
don't.
likes to throw it to the tight end position like a
but-
crap ton.
yeah,
He's
but-
a crappy quarterback. I get
Even
it.
when he
but
was
targets
out there,
matter in fantasy.
even when he,
I know
when
that,
he
but
played,
Font was a rookie quarterback. Rookie tight end, and there's a lot of things different that, like the,
I know, but I just don't. I hate Joe
like
Flacco,
Mike
so I'm
Gesicki
not-
was nobody in his first year, but he was a 1st round pick, I believe.
He was high. I don't know if he was first, but yeah.
But anyway, so Noah Font, I think the team it's more of it's in a lot of question right now.
Yeah.
And then the final guy, this guy's a lot less question. I think he's a deep sleeper.
Deep sleeper, yeah.
A deep sleeper in on his team and in real life. And I think while everyone's going out and grabbing Hawkinson and Font as second-year tight ends, I think Dawson Knox is a player that could actually be very, very good next year.
He's definitely on the radar. Similar to Minshew, not gonna draft him.
Yep.
I think. Can you check where he's going right now?
Undrafted.
He's probably undrafted, yeah. But he's in a good situation, Buffalo.
Right.
That has Cole Beasley and John Brown.
Right.
But they don't really have neither of those guys are anything crazy.
Right.
And if they keep the same receiving core and same tight end core, I think Dawson Knox could actually be a good sleeper next year.
Yeah, no, I looked at him and I was like, he's on a team with what are the questions that we asked for Hawkinson and Font? Hawkinson not that much with the quarterback position, but Font was more or less like Drew Lock.
Yeah.
What are we gonna get from him?
Yeah,
with
big
Dawson
time.
Knox, it's gonna be Josh Allen.
And Allen is he's okay.
At least you know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's like middle of the road quarterback.
Yeah,
which is,
so you're not gonna
is fine.
but I think Dawson Knox in his second year could be one of those guys that, like Darren Waller, not a lot of people were looking at him as an option. But when you look at that team, who's their number 1 wide receiver? John Brown.
yeah, who is good receiver, but not.
Dawson Knox was a top 3 round guy.
He's third. Yeah, third round is not bad.
So
not like he was
I'm
undrafted.
thinking that he could be the second guy in the offense if they don't add too much this offseason to the offense. We have to see, obviously. But Dawson Knox could be the second or third option on that team. And if he is, you're going to see a lot of target share. Now, I got to break down the target share for tight ends for the Bills and see if they actually target the tight end position, which I haven't done yet this year.
I know how many targets he did have. Dawson Knox, I had it. I think it was 50.
50 targets.
Yeah,
How many
which
games
is
did he play?
pretty good. I think he played in every game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to draft him. Like, if I do, I'll just draft him in the 15th round because I know no one else.
50% catch rate though.
Like I'll draft him in the 15th round or 16th round, knowing that, okay.
Yeah, he had 28 catches on 50 targets, and he started he played in 15 games, but only started in 11.
Yeah. So I think you're gonna see improvement from this guy, but we got to see. Like I said, if he starts having like a stellar preseason, I might draft him as a
he's
I
gonna be
drafted
one of those.
Austin Hooper in the 15th round.
Yep.
And I ended up dropping him anyway, and so it's just I'll get Dawson Knox right now,
15 round guy,
and then if I decide I want to go in a different direction, I will. But generally speaking, I'm always going to draft my freaking tight end in the 15th round. Like it sounds crazy. And I'm like, oh my god, but I got the number 3 tight end in fantasy last year, and it just doesn't for me. I'd rather build my team and not draft a tight end super early. You've got plenty of options. You got these young guys in Knox, Hawkinson, Font.
And one of those 3 guys, I think, will finish top 7, maybe top 5.
You also got some other guys out here that are performing extremely well that could actually be great, have a lot of upside. I'm trying to look at this list right now, and I have it loaded.
Mike Gesicki.
12.
I know he's not.
Caden Smith was a top 8 tight end, the backup tight end for Evan Engram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he was out from weeks 12 to 17, which is what for some reason I had loaded up. But you have different guys that could actually be good next year that are later, like Mike Gesicki, like you mentioned. What was the guy you mentioned on the last show, the breakout tight end? But you also got Dallas Goedert, who could actually be decent. But there's a lot of guys out there that are going to be potential breakouts that you kind of have to break down and look at. And I don't think it's as black and white as it's been in the past.
No, and you have a lot of I know last year we talked about it was like Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey, and then just shoot a dart at the wall and hope it sticks. But this year, I think it is still kind of just Kittle and Kelsey,
right?
And then after that's a bunch of guys. But at least this year, I feel more confident in taking a random guy.
Right.
You didn't feel confident taking O.J. Howard, especially in the 5th round.
No,
you didn't have confidence drafting Jared Cook in the 6th round, even though he was okay. But those guys, and Evan Engram and Hunter Henry,
right,
who both got hurt. So this year, I think you are more confident taking those guys, and you can be more confident in taking some of these guys at the end of the draft as well.
Definitely. That'll do it for our part 1 of the rookie recap series. The next one, we're going to talk about running backs, wide receivers. That's probably going to be a little bit more in-depth.
A little bit.
Instead of talking about Mr. Peanut. But that'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and talk to you on Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFChamps.